Good Friday. Literally, we are going to be seeing each other later at our Good Friday service and looking forward to all that God's going to do through that. But thought I'd start off the morning here by going ahead and continuing in First Peter chapter 4. In some ways, it doesn't get any easier. There's a lot of Peter really gives us a lot of doozies in this in his letter here. But you'll remember that yesterday we talked about Christ suffering for all flesh, and that when we suffer in the flesh, that there's this ceasing from sin. We talked about possibly what that means, that there's a ceasing of sin that comes with suffering in the flesh. If you didn't get that, go back and listen to yesterday. But Peter goes on to say, after talking about ceasing from sin, he talks about so as to live for the rest of the time in the flesh, no longer for human passions, but for the will of God. He says this, for the time that is past suffices for doing what the Gentiles want to do, living in sensuality, passions, drunkenness, orgies, drinking parties, lawless idolatry. With respect to this, they are surprised when you do not join them in the same flood of debauchery, and they malign you. But they will give account to him who is ready to judge the living and the dead. For this is why the gospel was preached even to those who are dead, though judged in the flesh the way the people are, they might live in the spirit the way God does. Okay, and so the first part of that really isn't all that hard. It says that the time that is past suffices for living the ways that Gentiles want to live, or the way that those who do not know God, those who are not in Christ, want to live. Basically, if you're not in Christ, the flesh wants you to live in certain things that just serve the flesh, that satisfy the passions of the flesh that Peter's been talking about. Those certain things that if you're not in Christ, you're just going to indulge in. Peter says the time that passed suffices for this. In other words, you used to do that stuff. You did it plenty in your youth, or at other times. All the time in your past that you've indulged in it, that's enough. You don't need any more of it. The time that passed suffices for that. Let it go. And he says, with respect to that, they're surprised when you do not join them. This is not uncommon for us. That sometimes those who are not dedicating their lives to Christ are surprised when you don't engage in the kinds of things they engage in. And they might make fun of you. It says here they might malign you. But he says that they will give an account to him who's ready to judge the living and the dead. So when Christ comes again, that's where their judgment comes. If they're judging you now, they're going to get judged later. So don't worry about that. But this is the hard verse in today's reading. For this is why the gospel was preached even to those who are dead, that though judged in the flesh the way people are, they might live in the spirit the way God does. The gospel was preached to those even who are dead. This can sound like, and there's a lot of debate on this one too. If you were to go on the internet and research this, you're going to find a lot of different theories and interpretations on this. I land on a certain one, and this is kind of where I'm going to go with it today. The gospel this is not about the gospel being preached to dead people, in my opinion. This is about the gospel was preached, and those people died. So some people had the gospel preached to them, and they died. And now the Gentiles or those pagans are going, look, you Christians are supposed to live forever, but you're still dying. And Peter's going, yes, we're still dying in the flesh, but the gospel was preached to those who were dead, not so that they could live in the flesh, but so that they could live to God. Because in our flesh is still going to face the quote unquote judgment, like Peter says here, the way all people are. Our flesh is still going to see decay and an end, but our spirits will live to God forever. And so it's not, this verse is not about preaching to dead people or preaching to dead souls or anything like that, in my opinion. This verse is much more about those who went before us, who heard the gospel. Yes, they still die, and yes, that's in our earthly mindset, that can look like defeat, but it's not defeat. There's still victory in that, because it's not about the flesh surviving this temporal existence. It's about the spirit going on into life forever. Hope that makes sense, and that's really what tonight is all about, because even Jesus's flesh saw punishment and death on the cross, and we certainly know that that was not the end there, that there was no defeat there, that there was only victory, not only for him but for all of us. And it's through that that we receive the confidence and the assurance that indeed we live not to the flesh but to the spirit. And so thank God for Jesus, and I look forward to seeing y'all tonight. Y'all have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.